Imagine being a billionaire, surrounded by luxury, power, and influence, and then discovering that your long-lost daughter is working as a waitress in a small, bustling café. She doesn't recognize you, and you have to decide. Reveal yourself and risk shocking her world, or stay in the shadows, watching her struggle and succeed without your help. What would you do? This is a story of secrets, choices, and the unexpected twists of fate that can change lives forever. From the outside, Victor Langston's life was a portrait of perfection. Towering skyscrapers bore his name, luxury cars glinted in the sun, and exclusive invitations arrived at his doorstep daily. People envied him, politicians courted him, and every move he made seemed meticulously calculated for success. But behind the tailored suits and the polished smiles, there was a void that no fortune could fill, a silence that echoed the absence of the one person he could never forget, his daughter, Lily. Victor had started with nothing. Growing up in a cramped apartment with peeling wallpaper and nights filled with hunger, he learned early that life wouldn't wait for anyone. Every deal he struck, every investment he risked, was fueled by a single-minded ambition to never be powerless again. He believed that if he built an empire, nothing could ever hurt him or those he loved. But life has a way of proving even the best-laid plans are fragile. It was a mistake that haunted him daily. A youthful decision, made in a moment of anger and desperation, had torn him from Lily. Custody battles, misunderstandings, and a mother who refused to let him in. Each event compounded the guilt that settled like a shadow over his success. Even surrounded by marble halls and luxury yachts, Victor often found himself staring at the ceiling of his penthouse, wondering how different life could have been if only he had held on, if only he had made different choices. Yet, despite the wealth and the accolades, there was an emptiness that money could never fill. Victor knew that success without family was hollow. The lavish parties, the exotic vacations, even the headlines praising his achievements, felt meaningless when weighed against the simple warmth of his daughter's smile, a smile he hadn't seen in years. And now, as fate would have it, life was preparing to throw him a twist he could never have anticipated, one that would force him to confront the past he'd tried to bury and the love he had never stopped feeling. The memory of that day never left Victor. He could recall the faint smell of rain on the pavement, the sound of her small shoes tapping against the floor, and the tear-streaked face of Lily as she was pulled from his arms. The custody battle had been brutal, legal fees stacking higher than his apartment walls, accusations thrown like knives, and a courtroom full of strangers passing judgment on a father who had made mistakes but had never stopped loving his child. Victor remembered the bitter argument with her mother, a moment when anger eclipsed reason. One word too many, one accusation too sharp, and the fragile bridge between them crumbled. He had pleaded, begged even, but nothing could change the outcome. Lily was taken from him. And in the ensuing years, his daughter grew up with a father she barely knew, while he lived with a haunting sense of failure. Even as Victor built his empire, the void remained. Board meetings, private jets, and exclusive galas. These were all distractions, clever illusions to mask the pain he carried. Every milestone he celebrated in the business world felt incomplete because he couldn't share it with the one person who mattered most. There were nights when he would walk through his penthouse, pausing in front of the empty nursery he had once prepared, imagining her laughter echoing off the walls, imagining bedtime stories that would never be read. He tried to atone in quiet ways: charity work, mentoring young entrepreneurs, even anonymous donations for children in need, but nothing could replace the warmth of his daughter's presence. The guilt was constant, an invisible weight pressing against his chest. And yet, he held on to hope. Somewhere out there, Lily was living her life, and Victor refused to believe that the universe had permanently denied him a second chance. Little did he know, that chance was closer than he ever imagined. Fate was quietly setting the stage, weaving a path that would reunite father and daughter in the most unexpected way. A moment was coming, one that would shatter the barriers of time, distance, and misunderstanding, forcing Victor to confront not only the past, but the choices he would make when destiny finally placed them face to face. Now, Victor Langston's days were filled with decisions that affected millions, yet none of them mattered as much as the quiet question that haunted him every morning. Where is Lily? He moved through his world like a king in a gilded cage. Meetings, contracts, philanthropic events, all meticulously scheduled, yet the emptiness lingered. Even his closest advisors had learned not to ask about her. It was a topic that could pierce through his steel-clad composure in an instant. Victor's mansion, with its sweeping staircases and art-filled halls, felt more like a museum than a home. He would often wander through rooms alone, stopping at the piano that had remained untouched for years, remembering how Lily used to press its keys and laugh at the wrong notes. Every object in the house was a reminder of what he had lost, a silent testament to time wasted and love delayed. Despite his immense wealth, Victor had developed a quiet obsession with searching, private investigators, discreet inquiries, even a network of contacts that spanned the globe. Every lead was a potential breakthrough, yet nothing ever felt concrete. He realized that finding her wasn't just about seeing her again, it was about redemption, about proving to himself that he could repair the damage of the past. And then, as if the universe had been waiting for the perfect moment, a whisper of fate entered his life. Reports of a young woman making waves in a small café in the heart of the city caught his attention. Something about her, the way she carried herself, the determination in her eyes, triggered a distant memory that he couldn't quite place. Victor felt a shiver of anticipation. Could this really be her? His heart, long conditioned to restraint and calculation, began to race. In that instant, the meticulous world he had built around him, the contracts, the wealth, the influence, faded into the background. All that remained was the possibility of reunion, of confronting years of separation, and of facing the consequences of choices made long ago. Life, in all its unpredictability, was about to force Victor Langston to step into a world he hadn't dared to imagine for decades, a world where love, regret, and destiny would collide in the most unexpected ways. Lily Morgan moved through her days with quiet determination, balancing multiple shifts at the cafe to make ends meet. The early mornings greeted her with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the hiss of the espresso machine, while the late nights left her counting coins and dreaming of a life that felt just out of reach. To the customers, she was cheerful and efficient, a smile that could brighten even the dreariest mornings. But beneath her composed exterior, there was a restless heart yearning for more. She hadn't thought much about her father growing up. Memories were fragmented, like a puzzle missing crucial pieces. Some nights, she wondered about the man who had disappeared from her life before she could even form lasting memories of him. Yet, she had learned to move forward without him. Life had a way of forcing resilience, and Lily had no choice but to embrace it. Every day, she juggled orders, cleaned tables, and managed a team of co-workers, all while holding on to a flicker of ambition, to one day own her own small bakery, a place where she could share warmth and joy without having to depend on anyone else. The cafe was bustling that morning, as usual. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating dust motes that danced lazily in the air. Lily moved from table to table, taking orders, chatting politely, and ensuring every customer left satisfied. Then, amidst the hum of conversation and clinking cups, she noticed him. Victor Langston, tall, impeccably dressed, and carrying an aura that demanded attention, stood at the entrance, scanning the room with an intensity that made her pause mid-step. He was out of place among the cozy tables and worn wooden chairs, yet there was something familiar, almost haunting, in the way he observed her. Lily felt a strange twinge in her chest, a sense of recognition she couldn't place. Victor's eyes, sharp and calculating, softened as he watched her move gracefully through the crowd, unaware of his presence. Every gesture, every smile, tugged at memories long buried, igniting a longing he had tried to suppress for decades. Fate had placed them in the same space, a crossroads of past and present, setting the stage for a revelation that neither of them could have anticipated. Victor lingered near the counter, pretending to browse the menu, though his gaze never left Lily. There was something mesmerizing about her. The way she balanced trays, the effortless way she diffused tense customers with a smile, and the subtle strength in her posture. Each movement seemed to echo fragments of memories long buried, whispering to him that this could truly be his daughter. Lily, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware. Her mind was focused on the next order, the tips she needed to save, and the small victories of keeping the cafe running smoothly. She had grown accustomed to ignoring distractions, especially wealthy patrons who treated service staff as invisible. Yet, something about this man unsettled her. Perhaps it was the intensity in his gaze, or the way he seemed to notice details most customers overlooked, the slight wear on the menu, the chipped edge of the counter. Victor debated his next move. Should he introduce himself? Should he observe a little longer? Every fiber of his being urged him forward, but the fear of overwhelming her, of frightening her with the truth, held him back. He knew he had to be careful. Lily's world was hers alone, built through hard work and perseverance, and he had no right to shatter it with the weight of his presence. As he stood there, their paths briefly crossed. Lily carried a tray of pastries toward a table, brushing past him without realizing the significance of their encounter. Victor caught a faint scent of vanilla and cinnamon, a smell that instantly transported him to memories of bedtime stories and early morning breakfasts. He felt a lump form in his throat, the years of regret pressing down on him like a physical weight. Then, a small, almost imperceptible hesitation in Lily's step caught his attention. A flicker of recognition, or perhaps just curiosity, passed through her eyes. Victor didn't know if it was enough, but it was something, a spark, a subtle connection bridging decades of absence. In that fleeting moment, the universe seemed to pause, offering him a chance to reclaim a piece of his lost life, and daring him to take the leap. Victor retreated to a corner table, trying to steady his racing thoughts. He sipped his coffee, though the bitter liquid barely registered on his tongue. All he could think about was her, the way she laughed at a customer's joke, the careful way she arranged the pastries, the effortless kindness she radiated. Every detail reminded him of the little girl he had lost, and yet this was a grown woman now, independent, resilient, and completely unaware of the man watching her with a heart full of longing. He wrestled with a torrent of emotions. Pride swelled within him at seeing her strength and determination, but it was tinged with regret. Regret for the years lost, for birthdays missed, for the small moments that could never be reclaimed. Every instinct screamed at him to step forward, to reveal the truth, but another voice, a quieter, cautious one, warned him against it. She didn't know him. She had built her life without him. What right did he have to intrude, to demand a place in it after all these years? Meanwhile, Lily moved through the cafe with practiced efficiency, unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. She had dreams, ambitions, and a stubborn streak that kept her going despite exhaustion and disappointment. To her, this was just another morning, another shift, another day to prove she could stand on her own. Yet, even in her focus, there was a subtle pull, an unspoken sense that her life was on the verge of something extraordinary. Victor watched silently, torn between action and restraint. He realized that the most important choice he would make in this moment was not about business, wealth, or status. It was about love, patience, and timing. He could force a confrontation now and risk shattering her world, or he could wait, letting her discover him on her own terms. Every second that passed deepened the tension, making the eventual encounter inevitable, yet fraught with uncertainty. As he rose to leave, his gaze lingered one last time. He didn't yet know how he would approach her, or how she would react, but one thing was certain. Life had a way of orchestrating reunions in the most unexpected ways. And for Victor Langston, the moment to face his daughter, and perhaps, finally, find redemption, was drawing closer with every heartbeat. Victor couldn't stop thinking about Lily. Days blurred into nights, as he replayed every interaction at the cafe in his mind, analyzing each smile, each gesture, searching for clues that would confirm what he hoped to believe, that she was indeed his daughter. The thought consumed him, leaving little room for board meetings, investments, or even sleep. For the first time in decades, his empire felt secondary to one single, impossible goal: reconnecting with the girl he had lost. He knew he couldn't rush into a direct confrontation. Lily had lived a full life without him, and he didn't want to be an intruder in her world. So he began the careful, almost invisible process of observation. From afar, he learned her habits, the cafes she frequented, the friends she confided in, the routines that shaped her days. Every small detail became a thread in the tapestry of understanding, a bridge he hoped would lead to a genuine connection. Meanwhile, Lily continued her life with a mix of hope and pragmatism. She was ambitious but cautious, aware of the challenges that came with trusting people too quickly. Life had taught her resilience and self-reliance, and she took pride in the independence she had carved for herself. Yet, a subtle curiosity about the world and the people she occasionally brushed past in fleeting encounters kept her heart open to possibilities she didn't yet recognize. Victor wrestled with fear and anticipation. What if she rejected him? What if the revelation of his identity caused more harm than good? Every scenario played out in his mind, some hopeful, others heartbreaking. And yet, amidst the anxiety, there was a spark of courage. He realized that the only way to reclaim a piece of the past, and perhaps heal both their hearts, was to take careful but deliberate steps toward her. The stage was set for a delicate dance of fate. Every glance, every message, every subtle gesture would carry weight. Victor knew that timing, patience, and sensitivity would determine whether this reunion would become a moment of joy or a fracture that could never be repaired. For now, he remained in the shadows, watching, waiting, and preparing for the pivotal moment that would change both their lives forever. The moment came sooner than Victor expected. A mix-up at the cafe, a misplaced package, a sudden rush of customers, created a situation where he had to step in to help. Lily noticed him immediately, his presence impossible to ignore. His voice, calm but familiar, carried across the cafe as he offered assistance. And for a brief instant, something in her eyes shifted. There was a flicker of curiosity, of recognition, but she couldn't place it. Victor chose his words carefully. He spoke with kindness, humor, and a gentle authority that didn't intimidate her, hoping to build trust before revealing the truth. He complimented her skill and dedication, asked about her dreams, and offered subtle guidance. Every gesture was measured, every question intentional. Deep down, he knew that rushing the revelation could backfire, that the fragile bridge between them had to be built slowly, brick by brick. Lily felt a strange comfort in his presence, an unexplainable familiarity that tugged at memories she couldn't fully recall. She laughed at his jokes, answered his questions openly, and felt a connection that was both sudden and natural. But alongside the warmth, there was confusion. Something about him stirred emotions she didn't understand, an echo of a past she barely remembered. Victor watched her, his heart heavy and full at once. He remembered the tiny hands he once held, the bedtime stories he whispered, the promises he made to always be there. Now, decades later, he saw the woman she had become, independent and strong, yet with traces of the little girl who had once filled his heart with joy. Every smile, every word, every fleeting glance reinforced his longing to finally bridge the gap that life had cruelly imposed. As the shift ended, Victor knew the time for subtlety was approaching its limit. He had to decide, continue observing from afar, or reveal the truth and face the consequences. The risk was high. Her reaction could range from joy to anger, acceptance to rejection, but the alternative was worse. Remaining silent meant losing her all over again. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation that could finally bring years of unanswered questions to a moment of truth. Victor finally chose the moment carefully. As the cafe quieted and the last customers drifted away, He approached Lily directly, his heart pounding with anticipation and fear. "Lily," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, "there's something you need to know. I'm your father." Lily froze, the tray in her hands feeling suddenly heavy. Her mind raced, memories clashing with the stranger standing before her. There was disbelief, shock, and a sudden surge of emotions she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice a mixture of caution and vulnerability. Victor stepped closer, meeting her gaze with earnestness and warmth. He recounted the past, carefully, honestly, without embellishment or blame. The mistakes he had made, the reasons for their separation, the years of longing and regret. Every word was laden with truth, every pause a plea for understanding. Lily listened, her emotions shifting like waves, anger, confusion, grief, and an undeniable spark of recognition slowly breaking through. It wasn't an easy moment. Tears fell, voices wavered, and hearts raced. But through it all, something miraculous happened. A bridge was rebuilt, stronger than before. Lily began to see the man behind the wealth, the regret, and the longing. A father who had never stopped caring, who had quietly watched over her from the shadows, and who now sought to step into her life without destroying it. As they sat together, talking, laughing, and sharing stories that had been lost to time, both realized that while the past could never be undone, the future remained theirs to shape. Victor saw her independence, her resilience, and her strength, not as obstacles, but as the foundation for a renewed bond. Lily saw a man who had loved her deeply, even in absence, whose mistakes didn't define him. By the end of the day, they were no longer strangers. They were a father and daughter, beginning the slow, delicate process of healing and reconnection. Life had brought them together through fate, patience, and courage, proving that even in the face of years lost, love, understanding, and forgiveness could create a future brighter than either had imagined. Victor and Lily's story is a powerful reminder that life is full of unexpected twists, moments that can heal wounds, reconnect hearts, and change destinies in ways we never imagined. It teaches us that even after years of separation, love has a way of finding its path, if we have the courage to face the past and embrace the present. Sometimes the hardest choices we make, whether to step forward, forgive, or take a chance, lead to the most extraordinary rewards. As they rebuild their relationship, Victor and Lily discover that family isn't just about blood. It's about presence, understanding, and a willingness to nurture bonds that life may have strained. Their journey shows that reconciliation isn't instantaneous. It's a process of patience, empathy, and shared moments that gradually transform pain into connection. Stories like this remind us to value the people we love, to hold on to hope even in the darkest times, and to believe in the power of second chances. Who knows what surprises life might hold for you tomorrow? Perhaps someone you've lost or never truly known could walk back into your life when you least expect it, changing everything. If this story moved you, made you reflect on the importance of family, or inspired you to cherish the relationships in your life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story that touches the heart. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a reunion that changed your life? Life is unpredictable, full of twists, and always worth watching closely. Just like Victor and Lily, your story might be waiting for the perfect moment to unfold.